Reinforcements back with Aleksander in the mix. Power play was strong, and the Panthers, the more composed team on Monday night in Buffalo.
You're Locked On Panthers, your daily podcast on the Florida Panthers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome into this Tuesday, October 29th edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. Thank you for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. I'm Armando Velez from the Hockey News. You can follow me on X at MondoMan12. Follow the show account on X and Instagram at LO_FLA Panthers. And shout out to the everydayers who come back here and get your daily Florida Panthers fix. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. You can do that all at FanDuel.com to get started. So Florida Panthers, in the end of their trip throughout the state of New York, pick up a win, get 3 wins in New York now before heading to Finland now for the Global Series. And basically for the Panthers, really this one, getting their rush game going, get 2 goals in a matter of a minute. The Sabres attempt at a comeback tied at 2, and then the Panthers score 3 straight, including 2 to ice the game at the very end of the third period in Barkov's return. More balance, 2 power play goals, although now it's 2 straight games for the Florida Panthers in goals against on the power play, on the PK, against the Buffalo Sabres. They were still able to just finish the game strong. And now it's 5 straight road games for the Florida Panthers in that they pick up a W, with their last road loss being against the Buffalo Sabres, and a big, strong road showing. And here to join me to break down this 5-2 win for the Florida Panthers over the Buffalo Sabres with 5 different goal scorers, by the way. He making his return, and as 2 podcasts in as many days. So let's welcome back to the show Florida Panthers historian Francisco Oporta. Francisco, it feels like you were just here recapping another win, my friend.
Well, the Panthers have just been playing amazingly. This game got away from them a bit there in the second, with the Sabres coming back in a relatively short amount of time, but then the Panthers were able to readjust, get back into their own rhythm, their own tempo, and then dictate the rest of the game, which, as you saw by the composure of the Buffalo Sabres, they weren't able to hold theirs. Well, the Panthers were able to play with that toughness that we know that they can play with, but at the same time being very smart and strategic about it, especially towards the end in that third period when Rasmus Dahlin had that, I thought it was a game misconduct type of outburst by him, but other refs thought differently. But hey, the Panthers were able to capitalize on that and got the win.
Yeah, it was a game full of just the sticks just being out of control for both teams. I mean, Eetu Luostarinen also went to the box for a penalty for losing a neutral zone battle and getting Samuelsson up in the face. I mean, Luostarinen also got hit in the face in one of the PKs, which we'll discuss a little later on, like a on a spot that I really want to point out in the game. But also, really for this one, it was a matter of when the referees let them play. A team that is older, more experienced, and has more playoff success is going to wind up more getting the favorable calls, due to the fact that whenever you're a team that's still struggling to try to find your identity, you're probably going to go the extra mile to lay those hits, and that might result in just being out of control. So that's a big takeaway that I found on the night.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Panthers definitely came in here. Remember, the Sabres had already beaten the Panthers once earlier this season in Buffalo, and it seemed like the Sabres may have been trying to play in that sort of same fashion, but of course the Panthers making the adjustments, and of course kind of close to full strength with Barkov coming back, which was a huge X factor in this game.
Yeah, and the Panthers really getting their speed going, really, of how they were able to break out. The puck support was outstanding, of especially from D to D behind the net, and able to just break it out for them in this one. And I mean, you see it with the Etu stretch to Lundell and getting it on the 2-on-1 with Boqvist to score for them, and then that play for that resulted in Carter Verhaeghe scoring as well. Them going up on the right wing, and then freezing the Buffalo Sabres, and then drawing to the left side of the ice for in the Sabre zone. So also the Panthers' ability to use them there to make plays happen for them. But also, I mean, for Buffalo, maybe the Panthers were a little unorganized. I mean, the goal that Zucker scored. I mean, the Yankees could possibly use a Jason Zucker in their lineup with how he was able to bat that puck into the goal for them on that goal. But also, I mean, Nate Schmidt had a little bit of a pizza when breaking it out, and then Power was able to get it quickly to Dahlin to bring it back to his backhand. But also, Nate Schmidt made it up for hugging the blue line, and then getting it to Sam Bennett on the power play, and then the strides that he was able to take a few steps and get it on the far side, which 2 straight goals also for the Panthers, beating Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen on the far side, able to create lanes, but also with Barkov's score, able to at least let the skaters go and take away the eyes of UPL as well there. So that's another thing with how much patience there is before shooting the puck and getting it and beating UPL on that far side.
Yeah, a lot of great patience. I love the sticks on the ice, the ability to create turnovers for the Panthers as well. Great transition game. I remember there was a point where Buffalo had just been pinned in their zone, and the Panthers they were able to clear the puck, but it was a long change, and the Panthers got the puck back, and then it went right back and didn't allow Buffalo to even get a full change going. And then they were right back at the Panthers, cycling, moving the puck around. I mean, I love the passing in this game. There was some great passing, crisp passing by the Panthers in this one, especially on the power play, which is really, really great to see.
Yeah, and Uvis Balinskis being part of the power play one for the Panthers there in this one. I mean, listen, the fact that the Panthers are getting multiple scores on the power play, although it's for them 2 different units for them with Nate Schmidt being on the second unit along with Ekblad, and then Uvis Balinskis taking the place of Adam Boqvist. The fact that they're still figuring it out, and they're still getting production on that part of the ice. I mean, Sam Bennett, Sam Reinhart, excuse me. The power play 18 seconds into that power play, the puck goes down low, and Barkov, a no-look pass to Sam Reinhart to get that one to make it I believe it was 2-0 at the time. Yes, 2-0. The second goal in less than a minute. But now that the fact that they're doing this with still trying to figure out if there's going to be stability on power play 1, it's pretty great to see.
Man, that Barkov pass was just so nifty. I mean, you could see how, man, he is so good. And, despite the fact that the Panthers have been playing well without him and holding their own, getting Tkachuk back, and then now they've got him back, you still realize how big of an impact Barkov has as just being this complete all-around player and just making passes like that other players would have tried to, chip it to the boards or try and move the puck out from behind the end boards there. But then he just finds a way to kind of shoot it back up towards the middle, and then it goes in immediately. And this is a no-look pass, but he just has a great sense for the ice in general and everything that's going on. It's just like, man, this is why he's one of the most elite players in the NHL. And this is why you can't go that long without him, because, he's the difference maker, and we saw it last season in the Stanley Cup championship there, and we're seeing it here where he's just a complete player. And well, happy to have him back. Happy to have him have one game under his belt before the big trip to Finland.
And almost a scary moment towards the end of the first period where he was going towards the end
Got
board.
shaken up a bit, but he came back, rested up a bit. And luckily that was towards the end of the period, so he could get back to the locker room and, get some rest there.
And also the training staff to work on him there.
Mhm.
So that's another thing to just take a look, seeing if he's okay. And also was able to just get off of after Nico Mikkola made contact with that right foot for Sasha Barkov there, but he's okay, thankfully for him. But we're going to transition over to segment number 2, where we're going to discuss more of our 3 stars of the game and the moment where we thought the game was won. We're going to chat about that more next here on the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. And get ready to tackle down the NFL action with America's #1 sportsbook, FanDuel. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL, all in one place. So when you need a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same stage where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 once again in bonus bets when you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports partner of the NFL. Also, this episode is brought to you by Game Time. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even faster. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff and show you incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. The Game Time Picks curation makes it easier to save more on sports, concert, comedy, theater, and more. The lowest price guarantee or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Download the app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. And once again, I'd like to thank you guys for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day here on a Tuesday, recapping this 5-2 win for the Florida Panthers over the Buffalo Sabres on the road for their 5th straight road win. Now as they head to Tampere, Finland for the global series for them. But 3 stars of the game for the Panthers here. For my number 3 star, Sasha Barkov in his return, getting multiple points on the night. We spoke about the goal and the no-look pass earlier to Sam Reinhart for his first goal of the season. Welcome back, captain. Second star of the game, Sam Bennett. We spoke about the beautiful give and go on Tkachuk's goal. 8th goal of the season on the power play. Now 8 goals for him, and leading the team in goals on the man advantage for them. 3 of them now for him. And number 1 star, the guy who got the GWG for the Florida Panthers, 6 shots on goal, 7-game point streak. To think that he didn't get a single point throughout the first 4, and now he has a 7-game point streak. Carter Verhaeghe. I'm going to go with Verhaeghe on this one for the Cats here. So your 3 stars of the game, sir.
So I got 2 of the 3 that you have already. Sammy Bennett, of course, 5-game point streak for him as well. So there's another
5-game goal streak. More than just a point streak. Goal streak.
Yeah. So, Bennett's been fantastic to start this season. And then I've got Barkov, of course. Presence was definitely known in this game. So, and you could see how much better he is than so many other players just being on the ice. And then I've got a different star, Verhaeghe. And it's nice that Verhaeghe's scoring now. I got 2 goals now on this trip. And you're starting... It was coming. You saw it was coming, and now it's here. And now he's starting to rack up the points. Jesper Boqvist.
Yeah.
As well. Had a really solid game. Lots of speed. Got himself a goal to start things off. You could have a bunch of other guys too. That line, Anton Lundell and Luostarinen-Boqvist, seeing that line and see how how they were playing together with Barkov back, seeing that, hey, this is a pretty good looking line here, especially given Boqvist a pretty solid partners there in Lundell and Luostarinen on that line. And I was just really impressed by the way he played all game today. And of course, defending Lundell as well after the hit. So, and this game was incredibly scrappy. I actually do
very.
I do want to credit the guys for sticking up for each other in this one. It could have gotten away from them in way more ways than one, especially when Buffalo had tied it. And you could see Buffalo just not being able to compose themselves in the right at the right moments, especially, and the Panthers not letting them get to him. There was a point where you had Matthew Tkachuk, one of the Sabres players, was trying to goad him to like a fight, and Tkachuk was like, "No, we'll shove each other around, we'll hug, and stick our gloves in our faces and all that stuff," but was not going to go any further along, especially because the game was still on the line. They needed as many of their skill guys on the ice, and you saw at the end that's what made the difference here with the Panthers. So all of their skill guys, but these are my 3 stars of the game, and they all played a part of this story against the Sabres that I honestly noticed every single one of these guys on the ice.
Yeah, and for the Panthers there taking advantage of it. I mean, Connor Clifton was mostly the guy who lost his composure before Rasmus Dahlin did. Cross-checking Matthew Tkachuk that led to that Sam Reinhart power play goal. There was another one where he took a shot on Verhaeghe after the whistle, and then Sam Bennett was there to defend him. But also.
Benny.
Yeah, absolutely. But also the lack of heads on a swivel for the Buffalo Sabres. I mean, we spoke about on the Verhaeghe goal, but also in the even though limited minutes for this fourth line for the Panthers, Patty Giles, Mackie Samoskevich, there was one play where Patty Giles had a quick tap, knowing that Mackie Samoskevich was going up with speed. He slows down a little bit right before a feed in the middle, but with the Sabres not having their head on a swivel, interference that from Yoki Haru on AJ Greer on that fourth line, and even though they did not get a power play goal off of that, the Panthers still able to just using their speed to really to their advantage on that. And I thought with all 4 lines, it was your typical rolling the 4 lines type of game.
Yeah, that was and I did notice that play as well with Giles and those guys keeping the Sabres, actually not really giving the Sabres any sort of chance to get back into the game. And when your fourth line is out there keeping guys pinned to their own end, it spells trouble for them on the other side in Buffalo. And yeah, I mean, Giles was also commended during the broadcast at least on the television broadcast for the Panthers, taking advantage of this moment that he's had with this club, and he's impressed so far.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Patrick Giles almost having a goal on a breakaway after stripping Jack Quinn later on, right before the Panthers and the Sabres both went on a 4-on-4, which I still don't I still don't understand. I might be getting the wrong play. No, there was a play earlier with Sam Bennett going to the box for roughing, but also Jesper Boqvist unfortunately negated a Panthers power play due to a roughing. So sorry, AJ Greer was for them. So 4-on-4 for them after that. But hey, it didn't end up hurting the Panthers there. That was at 10:32 of the third period when that happened. So for the Panthers, them once again, composure was the key for this one. So the moment where we thought this game was won, I had a really difficult. Usually, some games are easier than others. I could go with one of the Dahlin penalty on Lundell that resulted in 2 straight goals. The Bob save without the stick, releasing it, and then saving on Owen Power when it was still 2-2. But I'm gonna go with one on the PK where the net was empty and there was a chance for the Sabres to make something happen. And it's a block from Sam Reinhart with the shin on Tage Thompson. The Panthers held Tage Thompson and Alex Tuck to 0 shots on goal. When I previewed this game, I spoke about how crucial it was to stop guys like that, with Buffalo's forward line being humongous with board battles and also speed. That play specifically, that block by Sam Reinhart with the shin, that's my moment where I thought the game was won.
Okay. Yeah, that was another. There was a lot of great blocks by the Panthers as well. Kulikov had a big block as well in the third period, and then Bob had his moments today as well. We haven't really mentioned him that much, but Bob had some fantastic saving, including one where the net was pretty wide open. Bob was on one end of his of the goal. He had lost his stick, and the decision of whether grab the stick and then try and make the save. No, he just left the stick, got onto the other side of the ice, and was able to use his athleticism to swing all the way to the other side of the other end of the net and able to make that save. So that was a huge play. But honestly, the Rasmus Dahlin double minor was definitely it completely sapped whatever momentum the Sabres could have had in that third period. You lose Dahlin, who's a major player for them, and he's suddenly not there. And I noted, and I also made a post on my X account, how Steve Goldstein was roasting Dahlin for taking such a penalty with his very, very dumb whack of the stick on it was Lundell, correct? On Anton Lundell, hitting him in the face, and seemed pretty malicious to me. But hey, double minor, that's what they had there for that call. But completely gave all of the momentum to the Panthers going forward. They got the power play goal right there, and then of course the Barkov goal to seal it at the end. And I mean, that's where the game was won. Yeah, Verhaeghe got that third goal as well, but if the Sabres had any chance of trying to get back into this game, which they had shown they could do, that Dahlin penalty was the climax of the inability to compose themselves in this game for the Sabres.
Yeah, and as your bet with your best defenseman out, a guy who was able to just clean everything up in the zone, break out the passes and everything, your captain, that's definitely a big loss when you're not on the ice for two of those goals against that took any hope of them winning for this one. But we are going to transition over to segment number 3, where now the Panthers will be off to Finland. We're going to discuss more of another milestone that has gone that is now for Sergei Bobrovsky, now that this game is over with, and now everything shifts as the Panthers will have a few days off. We're going to discuss that next here on the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, and you can now win 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. Prize Picks invented the flex play, which means you can still win cash out of your lineup, even if it isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. Prize Picks now offers Venmo for quick and easy deposits and withdrawals into your account this sports season. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. You think Connor McDavid will get more than 0.5 goals next week? Or even Cale Makar, who has the most points in the NHL, will he be able to get more than 1.5? Same thing with Cole Caulfield on the Montreal Canadiens. Will he be able to continue the scoring? You could do that all on Prize Picks. So download the app, use code LOCKEDONNHL, and get $50 off instantly after you play your first $5 lineups. Once again, download the app, use code LOCKEDONNHL for $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. And you can do that all on Prize Picks. Run your game. Third and final segment here on this Tuesday, October 29th edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Thank you once again for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day here on a Tuesday, recapping this 5-2 win for the Florida Panthers over the Buffalo Sabres as the Panthers continue their winning ways, and recapping this once again with Florida Panthers historian Francisco Oporta. So, Francisco, Sergei Bobrovsky, now 13th.
That's some Panthers history here.
Time for 13th all time. Yes, for sure. Panthers history going on right now. Tied for 13th all time now with 401 wins, tying with Chris Osgood, Stanley Cup champion Chris Osgood, there for 13th. And now looking at the list, after this season is over, Bobrovsky could get up to possibly ninth all time, with guys to pass like Grant Fuhr, Glenn Hall, and Tony Esposito. There's possibility there, depending on how many games he plays next. But man, what an accomplishment once again for Sergei Bobrovsky. Now, like looking back at, we spoke about the 400 wins fastest, but now he has a chance to continue to climb this. And now the Panthers are hot. Their goaltender, who's a veteran, is still performing. We spoke about point streaks from Verhaeghe and Bennett, but also, man, what incredible time for the Panthers, not only to just continue their winning ways, but we spoke about earlier, Barkov, the balance of the lineups, Jesper Boqvist onto the wing. We spoke about Patrick Giles earlier, who may be set down after this, but also the Panthers have that confidence knowing that if there needs to be a reinforcement to be called back up, knowing that he's waivers exempt, they know who the first guy they're probably going to call there. So just overall, health is wealth right now for the Panthers, and it's resulting in the standings at this moment in time.
Yeah, and Paul Maurice has been alluding to all of that in the last few games, his press conferences, always mentioning like Thomas Nosek being on just close enough to being completely healthy, having him in the lineup. So he's been waiting for this for quite a bit to get these guys healthy and see what he's got with a full roster here, and they can tinker with the lines and defensive pairings and see what he's got. Now, these next two games are going to be a huge test, not only just from the means of the travel, but you're facing off against a Western Conference favorite in the Dallas Stars. So this is, what could have been the Stanley Cup final last year had the Stars won that series. So it'll be a great matchup. And look, we said what we said about Bob when he reached 400 already, and it's the same thing as 401. Like he's him reaching the top 10 in all-time wins and goalies by the end of this season. What else can you say? That Vezina trophies, Stanley Cup championship, Hall of Famer for sure. So we're just watching this happen. And as Panthers fans, let's enjoy the ride. I think the fact, the journey of Bob from the beginning of the signing with the Panthers, people thinking he might have been overpaid, and oh no, this might be a bad contract, to him getting the Bobby chants echoing all over Emirates Bank Arena, and it's been really great to see because he's such a humble goaltender. When you speak to him and you see his press conferences, and he doesn't really boast that much about his accomplishments. He's just happy about the team wins, and winning that Stanley Cup. You could see the satisfaction in his face when you see all the photos that he took with it when he had his day with it. That was the real accomplishment he was looking for. Everything else is just cake now.
Yeah. And just like how when Paul Maurice spoke about not seeing Sam Bennett smile for the first time in 2 years, I mean, you could basically kind of say the same thing for Sergei Bobrovsky as well there. But all right, now, I mean, Paul Maurice speaking of Global Series, he was ready with that hoodie post game for marketing purposes, and man, it's a big deal. We're really going to truly see, at least from afar, how big of a deal based on the activities they do. Their first stop is going to be Helsinki right before they make the travel to Tampere. I found with Steve Goldstein pronouncing it, I realized I was pronouncing it incorrectly. Tampere is how it is. But the Panthers are going to get 20% of their travel done just in this stretch of the season. But also, I also look at it from the other side of the Dallas Stars. We think the Panthers gaps in between their games are bad. The Stars are already there, by the way. Their last game was Saturday. Their next game is Friday. Then they return to action when they come back on the very same day that the Panthers return to action when the Panthers take on the Nashville Predators at home. But also, Lundell speaking about being in the stands for the recent Global Series back a few years ago when it was Panthers Jets with Paul Maurice on the other side. Weirdly enough, he says that he's going to know half the crowd there at the game. Barkov, not only is it full circle moment as far as the team that he played for what his dad has done with the organization, but also he also gave us an idea of how close it was to his school, like less than a mile from the school that he went to. So it's basically like he might walk around parts of South Florida, and I get it. Not everyone's a hockey fan in the market, and now he's more recognizable in this market now that he's a Stanley Cup champion, 2-time Selke Trophy winner. But I can only imagine if he were to do that right now in Tampere, bombarded. It'd be like the Dwayne Wade treatment. And honestly, I hope that the Sasha Barkov statue outside of Amerant Bank Arena one day looks like Aleksander Barkov.
Yeah. And look, it's been this is going to be a great homecoming for Barkov, because I'm sure the last one was great, going to Finland and facing the Jets with Patrick Laine on the other side there. But now he's accomplished the ultimate accomplishment in hockey. And so this homecoming, it's going to be something extra. It'll be in his hometown. And I almost take it like, there was like an all-star game. I think the 2009 all-star game in baseball with the St. Louis Cardinals. And that was basically a celebration of Albert Pujols. And I feel like this will be the same thing for Aleksander Barkov. It's going to be a celebration of him and his accomplishment. And not to say less of the other Finns on the roster. We have Lundell and Luostarinen and Mikkola. But this is really Barkov's homecoming in a sense, and he's earned it. He's completely earned it. I hope all of Finland embraces them to the extent of, I don't know, like Beatles mania type of thing. And I hope having a national audience, international audience, propels Barkov and these guys, as well as the entire Florida Panthers, into the upper echelons of visiting fan bases all across the league. I mean, they noted on the broadcast in this game against the Sabres how many Panthers fans were in the stands, and how it seems to be more and more red that you're seeing in visiting arenas. And that's great to see, especially for us who've been fans for such a long time, and seeing that we could not get fans in our own building, but now building is sold out, and now the rest of the league is contending with the bandwagoners.
And let's not forget a Let's Go Panthers chat back at UBS Arena just a few days ago there on Long Island. And also, I mean, if the Panthers are playing matinees on Saturdays, even if they're in the States, I mean, I'm going to see it. I'm going to try to change my perspective. Instead of complaining about the early afternoon games on a Saturday, I'm going to think about it as more of the international fans who don't have to be up at, let's say, well, it's 6 hours ahead, so that would be 1 in the morning over there in Finland, that the Panthers would play from on a normal home night for them. 4:30 if they're playing like the LA Kings over there. So how important it is for the NHL in general to get these matinee games on a Saturday for for fans over there. I mean, I'm gonna see it more. I'm gonna try to instead of complaining about it, change my tune more. That it's for them.
Yeah, it's only 2 days. Come on now.
Yeah.
It's only a
But
two game road trip, essentially a 2 game road trip. But yeah, no, uh, let them play. Let the fans out there enjoy a night game with these guys, and you know what, we've get them 40 other games of the season here at home in Sunrise. We'll let them have one, especially if it's Barkov's hometown.
absolutely, and we are very, very excited to just watch and see how much the embrace there for not only Barkov but the rest of the Florida Panthers. We'll definitely bring on a Dallas Stars content creator on the show to preview more about the global series coming up on Friday and Saturday from Tampere, Finland. So we are very, very excited for all of that and more coming up this week, as the Panthers will now board a plane over there as the Panthers wrapped up this 5-2 win over the Buffalo Sabres. But Francisco, I want to thank you so much once again for joining me on this edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Tell everybody where they can follow you online, my friend.
Yeah, FLA Cats History on X, FLA Panthers History on Instagram, and Panthers History on TikTok. And yeah, I'm just doing my own thing. I've been tinkering around with some of the prototype logos the Panthers have had and trying to recreate them and make them kind of sort of in line with their current branding set, using the same sort of style, but trying to bring those in line to life. And I think I've already put out one. I think you especially liked it. If a few other people liked it, I'll put it on my merch store and have people go crazy on that. And I'm just having fun with that. So that's my current project right now. And I'm still waiting. We're still waiting on the Vice jerseys that are coming out. Limited edition series I'm doing with vintage 305 jerseys. So still be on the lookout for that. We haven't released them yet, but they're almost there.
And I will say, it's a work of art. So be sure to stay tuned, Panther fans. But Francisco, thank you so much once again, and I will see you very soon.
All right, go Cats. Keep peace.
And if you like what you're hearing, please subscribe to the podcast to be notified every single time the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast jumps into your podcast feed. Don't forget to also subscribe to the other shows on the Locked On NHL Network, including Locked On NHL, Locked On Fantasy Hockey, Flip Livingstone and Stu Roden, and Locked On NHL Prospects. Thank you once again for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. So I'm Armando Velez with Francisco Oporta, and you've been listening to Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We're your team every day.